Salut, c'est Shox de G2.
Okay, I'm here for another episode of Talk to Thorin, and my guest for this one is STYKO from HellRaisers, actually. Just a little meme there for all the kids. So, so what I would do to start this interview out, okay, is you come from Slovakia. And a lot of kids watching this interview now, obviously, you know, when he started watching esports, started watching CS, you know, a couple of years ago. So they're going to naively think, STYKO, well, I mean, Guardian comes from Slovakia, you know, they have a bunch of players now, obviously, like Zero in your team. You know, there's a bunch of players from these countries and, you know, they're big stars. But when you first started to become like a competitive player, when you were coming up from the semi-pro levels, it was kind of a wasteland to be from a country like Slovakia if you want to make it as a pro in Counter-Strike, right?
Right. It was impossible to build a team here. And it still kinda is to build international functional team. I mean, that is capable of playing on international level. So even though we have great players here, it kind of wouldn't fit, I guess.
Sure. So when you were coming up initially in CSGO, I remember when they did that the Valve feature on Guardian, you were featured in it, right? And essentially they tried to play it like, you know, he was like in a mentor role to you, you know, because he's the old pro from Slovakia. And wasn't it implied, if not in that, I'm sure it was implied somewhere, that at some point you two wanted to play together or something in your careers, or you did a little bit early on in CSGO or something? What was the situation there?
There was the situation that eventually we would like to come back to Slovakia and build a Slovakian team. But first we need to gain some experience, I guess, on the international level. And it's right now impossible in Slovakia to build this team. So we kind of just wandered into different teams. He's obviously in Navi with Zero. We have other good like individual players like Queston, Frozen, Monty, whatever. They're playing in next status. And eventually, maybe after some years of gaining experience on top tier Counter-Strike that we are playing right now, then we will come back and form the team that is eventually purely Slovak, or maybe we'll pick some Czech guys as well, because the community is kind of merged. So let's see how it panned out. I'm sure all of us want to come back and represent Slovakia and Czech Republic, right? It's basically where we are coming from. So hopefully one day it will be possible.
So since you mentioned the Czech Republic, that's actually one of the areas where I always think about like the first part of your career is, I mean, I realize this interview is going to be a little confusing for people till we break down like the moves that happened in HellRaisers, etc. Because they'll think when I talk about this team that we're just talking about HellRaisers now. But basically a lot of the players that were in your team now, like STYKO, you, Zero, I mean, you had Quest 1 at one point in time, Oscar. Yeah, you guys have all been in HellRaisers, but if you go back far enough, you basically had the core of that team was one of your teams in the early days, right, before HellRaisers. And essentially, it was actually kind of like the early days of this HellRaisers core, where a lot of people looked at that team and they were like, oh, I know Oscar, I know he's like a really skilled player, and I know him a bit from 1.6, you know, but no one really looked at the other players, right? Since that was early in your career, was Oscar like the one standout name at the time? Were the rest of you kind of rookies? What was the situation when you first had that team?
Yeah, we were the rookies. Oscar was the, like, to be honest, I didn't even know how old is he back then, so I thought he's like 30 years old daddy playing, okay. Because when I started playing CS, you know, he was the big star, right?
Sure, yeah.
So I thought like he aged, he just is playing for fun, but look at him now, right now, he's battling out in Dallas and he's doing great. He certainly is capable of playing, even though he's like veteran player. And we kind of looked up to him. I remember some Czechoslovakian websites where he was doing an interview, and in comments I praised him like he's god. And 2 years later I'm playing with him and he's doing this YOLO pushes, like FPL pushes and so on, and I'm just face palming so hard during every prac when I see it. But you know, we understood each other, so it worked well back in the days when we were playing all four together, and that's why we decided to pick each other up on the way to HellRaisers, basically. Basically, our first tournament, which we won, the notable one was Copenhagen Games, I guess. I'm not sure. It was with basically Czechoslovakian lineup, right? I think it was Quest on there, Angel, Oscar, me, Zero. I don't know, that's too many people. I don't know who was. Someone was left out of there, but we were majority of the team.
I think it was before. Let me think. Who else was it?
I
Didn't
think
you have Smike or someone back then?
no. The
that not
Smike
right?
was just a real quick experiment. It
Okay.
didn't work out. I don't know who it was. Basically, it was the point where on HLTV we had a Slovakian flag, so it was like right. We were majority
Okay.
of Slovakian players.
Okay, but that in itself, right, had to be an interesting moment in history, because I have to say, this might sound harsh, but that's actually the moment when a lot of people who followed HellRaisers, and obviously one of the reasons everyone followed HellRaisers is because the history of the team with the CIS squads was very good. You know, people don't realize the core of that team goes back to one of the best CSGO teams ever. You know, the Virtus Pro team with Dozier and all those guys. And so over the years, that, you know, there was still a CIS team, and then they got to this period at the beginning where it was like half CIS, half players from your part of the world. And when they finally went the other way and they started to just, you know, all the other players went to Gambit, etc., and it became like this Slovakia and Czech Republic team, that's when a lot of people thought, oh, you know, this team's probably not going to do anything now. Then it's basically just become this old semi-pro team, you know. But one thing we obviously couldn't have known at the time is, to be fair, a number of you, obviously like Zero's a perfect example, were quite young, you know, and especially young in your careers. And so there was potential to grow to some degree. So was it a big deal for you to be in a real organization, but have this like lineup all from your region, you know? Whereas before, you know, you're playing with like Russian guys and stuff.
Yeah, you said that it sounds harsh, but in reality it is really harsh, because that was the end of an era for HellRaisers, and I'm sure a lot of fans, they lost it because of the players. They left, right? They follow the players, not the organization.
Yep.
So we kind of brought our community, Czechoslovakian community, that cheered for us, but obviously that's not that big as Ukrainian/Russian. It was kind of a big deal. It was a really big deal. It was our first contract, mine and Zero's as well. I don't know if Oscar had previously some contracts in 1.6, probably yes. I'm not sure if he was paid. It was huge deal. It was like, I don't want to say like life-changing, but in a way it was life-changing, because if we wouldn't get that offer, I probably would stay in the school and I will be right now FPL player or something. I wouldn't compete on this kind of level.
When they made the lineup where they first brought you in, and they still had, like, they had Kucha still, and obviously Angel was there the whole time, you know. And actually, you know, they even had Simple for a brief period of time. He was like doing a stand-in. Was it difficult to play with the CIS players? Like, do you actually speak any Russian? Did you speak any back then?
No Russian at all. All we learned with Oscar back then was positions to call out in Russian. Rest of the game was basically played out in English.
Okay. Was their English good enough then? Because your English sounds pretty good, but I know for Simple, for example, back then, it was kind of a bit touch and go, right?
Basically, Simple was talking, when he was talking with Angela and Bondik, we didn't have Bondik back then, Angela and, for example, LMBT, which was our coach back then, they spoke in the Russian language. We understood a bit. I understood a bit because it's similar to Slovakian. Oscar didn't understand anything, I believe. The English was good on, like, my English didn't improve that much. I basically learned English in school and from the games, not from the HellRaisers, right? So I knew it before. Oscar improved a lot in English. He wasn't capable of talking like really smoothly, and right now in Mousesports, I believe he's doing a great job calling the situation and so on. Angel got improved, like he improved a lot. That's the biggest jump in Angel's calling in English. He's building the sentences way clearer. If that's the word, like it's more clear from his point of view. Like we know what he wants to explain, and he explained it well right now. Simple didn't talk English that much. I guess when he joined Liquid, it improved his English skills a lot. Sure. But that's it. That's pretty much it. We talked kind of Slovakian, Czech, Russian, and English was somewhere in between when we wanted to talk to each other, but it was rare. We were just playing as a mix, I would say. It was no communication at all. It was terrible. So
people might remember there was a famous piece of drama where Simple and Oscar didn't get along for whatever reason. And I mean, that story basically just works if you include the name Simple and then almost anyone else, you know, like it seems like there's always someone he doesn't get along with. can you explain from your perspective, what do you think the problem was? Like, was Simple raging in those teams? Was he having a problem playing with these players?
Yeah, sure. So I think we had a bootcamp in Kiev, and the origin of this whole drama between Oscar and Simple is actually between, I don't know if I can say it, I don't know if they're still friends, but hopefully they will understand it was between Simple and Kucher, I remember.
Ah, okay.
So the thing was, we kind of, little backstory, we kind of use this app on mobile phone, which like we chat between each other, we talk about team stuff, and they all spoke in like Russian, weird letters and so on. I don't know how to explain them. But when I joined HellRaisers, I secretly tried to learn it. I'm not telling them about it, so I understood quite a bit. So I understood the argument that they had, and Kucher just said once that he has enough. It's either him or Simple leave. And Angel had a long talk, I believe, with LMBT, and they decided to kick Simple instead for the sake of the structure of the team. They saw the more potential in Kucher. We could build around like team play instead of being one star in the team, which Simple was back then, right? That's it. That's basically it. That sparked the argument in between the team between Kucher and Simple, and Oscar was just a side victim of this. Okay. And Simple, I believe on stream, he said some trash talk towards Oscar. He trash talked him back, and that's where it caused such a drama.
So, in the early days of this team, when it became mainly, like the Czechoslovakian team, etc., when you had this lineup, like I said before, people did just look at it and they were like, "Wow, Oscar is really good." Like I used to make the joke comparison that it was like he was like mini NiKo, because people looked at it like, right, you've got the one guy who's really carrying, and then you've got a team that's like not quite at his level, it seems, but obviously he was doing it on the tier below, like the difference is NiKo was doing it on tier 1, whereas you guys were going to like the tier 2 lands mainly. Within the team, like, sure, stats don't tell you everything, just the guy who has the biggest stats doesn't necessarily do everything correct in the game, but why was there such a disparity, do you think, at that time in like early 2016?
Yeah, the comparison you did with NiKo is on point, but also I want to remind one thing, that when Oscar left, we ultimately became better. Sure. When NiKo left, they ultimately became better. The one star on the team and building game around him is not always worth it. And Mousesports and HellRaisers are the team that proved this theory that I have. Like, we felt much more free on the server, right? We didn't rely on Oscar's performance, which cost us quite a bit of important lands when he didn't have a good game. Like, he had okay game, but we expected always more, because on practice he was carrying. On practice, we weren't put in the situation on practice that we were put on the LAN tournaments, that he was under pressure. I don't mean like he played bad. He just played differently. And then that cost us like complete our team game, and our game style was kind of not ruined, but it was almost ruined. And that caused like holes in our defense or holes in our defaults, and we got picked apart on important rounds. That is the story of basically 3 lines which were really important for us, which was like major qualifiers. It even happened on EO minor, but we came through because there were not that good teams as on major quality. But yeah, ultimately it's not a good thing to build around one guy like we had in HellRaisers.
What was he actually like in scrims though? Did he just like play more aggressive or something and play more passive on LAN? What was it? What was the issue?
Overpeaking. Oh, he was overconfident, overpeaking. But on the LANs, we try to play discipline, right? We talk before game, guys, let's focus on this. Let's win every 1v4, 1v3, whatever. Or I mean 3v1, obviously, in our point of view. So we decided not to peak. And that's when we weren't ready for the situation. How to build crossfires, for example, right? To actually kill the one guy that is entering the site. It's trivial, I know, for the spectator point of view, it's trivial, but communication wasn't best for us. I mean, we were still adapting to the English language. None of us speak fluently in English back then. It was hard. it was very different from Prax. That's why we kind of didn't feel our game on Lance, I guess.
So there was actually a bizarre scenario that happened with Oscar where famously when he first went to Mousesports and people thought, right, well, now it should be great for him. Now he's got NiKo, the two of them together, they've kind of like, they can overcome whatever issues. And obviously it immediately went badly. And actually people will forget this. He initially was just like kicked or stepped back or some weird scenario like that. And at the time, no one ever explained what had happened in Mousesports, right? There was all these weird comments about like, did he choose to do it or did Mousesports cut him and all? And what I heard behind the scenes was just as vague. Like usually someone will just tell you like, oh, this is what happened, but just don't say anything, And everyone was sort of like, oh, he's just, all that everyone told me was like, oh, he's just a very strange guy. Like, and he's just a very unusual guy, which is like, I don't know what that means. So when he was in your team, was he an unusual teammate?
He kind of was. But not in a way that that it's impossible to play with him. He was strange in a way that he felt to me like he was very introvert kind of guy, not very talkative. He was like minding his own business basically anytime he could. But at the same time, he was focused 100% during the game. But during the practice, not so much. Like when we had to talk about strats, we had to repeat a lot of times what we want him to do, what we expect him to do. But when it came to shooting, it was impossible not to win the round when he was on point, right? He always had like 3 impact frags in the round, and that's it. He was kind of strange, right? I don't know how to explain it. He had some problems with traveling, but he overcame it when he entered into the mouse lineup. There was some flight problems. I don't know if he was scared or something of flying alone. We always had to come to Prague to fly with him. So from Slovakia, we took the bus to Prague with Zero.
Okay.
And from Prague, we were flying like 6 more hours towards some kind of, 6 is like overkill, but let's say 4 more hours to some land, for example, in Sweden or whatever. And we were playing on the next day super tired because we killed whole day before it with Zero, just kind of traveling to Prague by car or by bus, by train, whatever. It was very strange. Like he was, I think it changed though. He was changed in Mousesports a lot. Like the way he writes to me on Facebook when we chat, he seems very mature right now. I know it's a little bit late to tell that because he's 26 now. He should be mature like 8 years ago, right?
Yeah.
But he matured right now. Like he understood probably when he got benched, or he benched himself. I don't know, that it's probably his last chance, and if he won't change, it's gonna cost him. So he changed. I think he has great input into the Mousesports right now.
So one thing that actually, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but whenever I saw him play in 1.6, I actually don't even remember him AWPing. He used to always be like a rifler, that used to be his main role. And I think as far as I know, early in CSGO, he was mainly a rifler as well. So why in HellRaisers does everyone remember that a lot of his carry performances, he was just like a primary AWPer? It seemed like that's also something that changed inside. Was there something that changed in the team? What was the reason for that?
He was sick aimer back in 1.6. He kind of transferred it to CSGO. But if you remember the backstory of why we got picked by HellRaisers, it's because of his FPL performance.
Yes.
He won like 3 FPLs in a row when it was introduced, and he was playing mainly AWP. He got picked up because Mo left the team, I believe, or Adrian left the team first.
That makes sense, yeah.
He got picked up, and he told HR guys, like, I really want to play with STYKO because he's a smart. I'm not going here alone, like into this team. I'm not stepping into this water alone when it's like Russian team, right? So he kind of poached me in, and that's I'm thankful for this.
So one of the interesting things is, even though if you just look at the stats, a lot of people were characterizing like I said, it's like, oh, Oscar's really good and he's carrying, but the rest of these guys, we don't know about them yet. Actually, if you go back and look, you were having like a career peak at the time, right? It was a very good period for you as well. So what was your game like at the time? What kind of role did you play in the team?
I remember I kind of ran around Oscar and support him as much as I could.
Okay.
Which led to I was not flashy player at all. I was kind of a support role, but not in a way like you would describe Crims, right? That he's holding the side, last guy on side, and he he will hold the side for sure. I was support player in the middle of the map, trying to support with nades and try to like wander between Oscar and whatever other action on the map is happening. So I was just really all-around guy. That was my. I don't know why the peak happened there. I think I was comfortable supporting him, supporting Oscar, even though we didn't talk that much in game. Like we felt each other, and that kind of went away when he left the team. I got worse in terms of performance, despite my role didn't change. It's very like you did a video about us being like how did you call it? Inverted HellRaisers, right?
Yeah, it's like the stars changed around, you know.
You nailed it. Like the DeadFox is inverted Oscar in almost every way. He's not flashy at all. He's more supportive player, and now we have kind of two supports on the same team. Instead of me supporting DeadFox was kind of supporting back me, right? And we just didn't. We instead of shooting frags, we were flashing for each other. It's like we were overnading so hard. I remember back in the day, like when DeadFox joined the team, it was we are just too kind for each other, right? We're not like hunting for the frags.
Right.
I don't know how to explain it. It's very weird, but Oscar was definitely like going more for the fights, and DeadFox is playing more tactical way, which it can benefit us in the long run, but we all need to get used to it.
So do you feel like at the moment, like have you found the right role for you? Is it something you're comfortable with?
No, I'm not comfortable with my role at all on most maps, and that's why we made a few changes lately. We have 1 month to practice my new roles before the major, and I hope, like on the practice, I'm putting up much bigger impact than I used to like 1 month ago. I just didn't like my roles, and I told it directly after we disappointing run in Austin to my teammates that I just don't want to play certain roles because I feel like I could be utilized better. They agreed, and now we are trying it.
So a lot of
we are just on the breaking point right now in HellRaisers when we are changing a few things.
Right. Okay. So I've noticed a lot of young players, they tend to be cocky, right? I mean, I can understand why, because sometimes, you know, being cocky and thinking you're good enough is what gets them to the top, you know. It's what makes them believe they could play. But I've noticed you actually seem to be quite the opposite. Like you seem to always be very respectful of the veterans and like you want to learn from them, etc. Have you always had a good mentality in terms of being a teammate and wanting to improve?
Yeah, but I hate when someone is being cocky. I hate it and love it at the same time. Like lately, I saw some config baiting someone on Twitter, right, from Mousesports in Dallas. I love it. I completely love it from the fan point of view.
Yeah, for sure.
But if I would do it, it would ruin me. Like imagine I would be this cocky, this like confident. And then I would suck in game. I would never like it. I would never let it go. I would have it always in the back of my mind. Like, what did I do? I just made enemy out of the opponent, and now I sucked completely. So I couldn't do it. I always feel like respectful because I know that I have a lot of flaws. I'm kind of inconsistent, but at the same time, when I'm on fire, I can put up good performance. But it happens really rarely. I'm usually just average guy. I don't have the numbers to be cocky, right?
Sure, it's true. You got to be able to put up the numbers, right? So, one thing that was really interesting, I thought, in the evolution of HellRaisers, and of course, like I've admitted myself, I didn't really watch the team super closely. You know, I saw like Oscar, and I was like, "Oh, go Oscar!" And then when Oscar was leaving, I was like, "Right, well, time to quit watching this team." Yep. So I had to go back afterwards when you had your success now and kind of like, you know, follow the paths back, like find out what changed, what trends there were. And so one of the trends that I think really went under the radar was actually Jonta joining and then becoming the coach of the team. Because the problem is, because it happened right before Oscar officially left the team, you know, like it was announced that he'd stepped down, a lot of the people just looked at the team like, right, that's the big change there. And obviously then you had all these other factors happen that seemed to be the real move, which like DeadFox joins, you know. But one of the reasons why I want to talk about this aspect here is I don't know Jonta as a person at all. Like I only know him from 1.6 when he was a player back in some of those teams with the likes of Angel, you know. And I know though, that he must have had some key impact, because after seeing HellRaisers play before he was in the team and seeing every team that Angel ever led play in CSGO, they play nothing like HellRaisers does now. And HellRaiser, I mean, you were saying yourself about Angel, like Angel had to even improve his communication, you know. Yeah. I remember talking to Angel years ago in the old HellRaisers, the old CIS one. And one of my first ever Thorins Thoughts videos actually was about HellRaisers, and I basically criticized them, and I pointed out that, like, you know, they had no map pool, that they just played the standard Russian style, which is the worst style ever, where you just walk into all the bomb sites. You know, you never run, and every person, you know, in the team is playing as if, like, you know, he's like the star player setting up his aim duel, you know, like no one's playing actual team play. And the funny thing is Angel wasn't even mad. He basically just admitted, like, yeah, like, we do have a huge problem with that and we need to get tactical, you know. But obviously he didn't figure out how to do it over the years, you know. He still had the same teammates, basically the same kind of core players, and they were very stuck in their way. So what do you think the impact of Jonta becoming the coach was in changing Angel as an in-game leader? Like, is this connection there?
Yeah, the connection is definitely there. It's insane how much impactful Jonta is. I mean, if I could put star player of this team, it's not even player, it's our coach. It's like he's insane at doing his job. I can't compare that much. I have been only in HellRaisers as a pro team. Jonta is my second coach. First one was LMBT, and the differences are there. I'm not telling that Jonta is definitely better. LMBT was better in some ways. I understand it, but Jonta ultimately made this team work. So I'm amazed how he did it. He told us how to learn. I would say, like, when we were playing practice back in the day, we just kind of played. We didn't think about, well, let's remember this. They will probably use it in official game. Let's see it if they use it on stream. If they won't, let's remember this pistol round and etc. Right now we are noting down a lot during the just trivial practice. We are playing against tier 3 team, and I remember months after, if we play them in some online league or something, that I remember what are their tendencies. I don't even look for them. I just remember it. He taught personally me. I don't know if my teammates feel the same way, but he taught me how to feel the game better and how to help my teammates better. That meaning teammates, mainly Angel, because I am kind of trying to secondary call something together with DeadFox. Bonding and Zero are too passive they are not saying much, to be honest. Not saying as much as they should. They are trying to work on it for sure. Like they know it's their mistake, but sometimes they are missing key information. And that's why I'm trying to help Angel more with the calling. So Jonta was the basically main guy that fueled HellRaisers right now. As I said, I would put him as MVP of this team.
Sure. But one thing that I found really strange about that is usually when an in-game leader becomes more tactical, like, everyone expects, oh, it's okay if that guy, like, you know, gets less kills now and has less impact. And yet the bizarre thing is, Angel was the in-game leader of teams in the past, and, you know, in the very early days of CSGO, he was a good fragger, you know, his whole team was pretty good back then. But I actually think he seems like a better player now, even though in theory there's more tactics. So what kind of role does Angel play individually in the team?
Individually, he's kind of an aggressive lurker. He, on the T sides, he kind of tries to take the certain zone on the map and then trying to pressure it so the CTs will use a lot of nades. And he is really good at reading the opponent when it comes to nade usage. I feel like when there are CTs throwing a lot of nades to his part of the map, he understands how many are they on the certain side, if they are pushing, are they playing passively, aggressively, and he's making call off of that. So aggressive lurker, the reason why he's aggressive lurking, it's because he feels comfortable in taking aim duels against anyone basically, and he has the info on the map, and he doesn't need to share it. He will just call what he wants us to do on the other side of the map, right?
Yeah.
So this is kind of a approach that we are trying right now to implement into our team to make it consistent on all maps, because on Overpass, for example, he was trying to go towards mid of the map and trying to help with other teammates. But right now he's trying to kind of aggressive lurking on all part of the maps. On Inferno, for example, on whatever, on Nuke, on Mirage as well. He's just trying to play more solo, but he's getting the information for the team, and he will make all of that. Because when you look at our game on the sides of the map, we used Zero and Bondik, and as I said before, they can easily miss some important information. And we were lacking because of this missed information. Angel was making bad calls.
So one of the yeah
that's basically the premise of what I wanted to say. So
right,
you can continue.
Okay. That's all right. So one of the bizarre things, though, is that I could understand and actually sympathise if Angel was if old HellRaisers, the CIS ones, played like the same style for a long time, and did the same things. Because if you ever look at those players, it's not like they're only CSGO players. Some of them played like 10 years, maybe more, they've done like 300 LANs or something crazy. So at that point in time, you can get a bit jaded. You can feel like there's nothing new, like you're just doing the same things. Now in this team, everyone except Angel is pretty much sort of a rookie, or if not a rookie, like they've only played a couple of years, and this is actually their first time getting this high in the game. Has having all these new people around, has it like revitalized Angel in some way? Has it brought him out of being a bit jaded?
Yeah, I feel like he loves to be a teacher in some kind of way. He explains his thoughts really well, despite English not being his first language. Even though in Russian I understand something when he talks to Bondik privately, and I understand something, and he's like putting really good thoughts. And when he's arguing with Junta about our game plan, or for example our strats, he's always making the point, like, I don't like this, I would rather do it different way. And he just introduced the new way. Other teams, when someone, or other players, usually when they say something they don't like the approach of their team, they don't introduce anything new to fix it. But Angel has instantly, like, it's just in his mind already set up, and he will just explain it no matter what. And he's really good at it. We just always agree with him in the end of the day, right? We just feel that his vision is better than any other of us. So he's a great teacher in this kind of way.
How and why did DeadFox join this team? Because he wasn't even on anyone's radar. Like the little bit he'd played even, was not like he was crazy, and anyone was like, you got to get this guy. Why pick up DeadFox?
When we knew that Oscar signed with Mousesports, I think we had the time where we played with Smike that you mentioned before. It was just because we kind of wanted to remain CIS team and wanted to play CIS minor. We said it's impossible. He didn't speak English at all. Almost, it was very hard to communicate. He wasn't even that skilled. It was just a failed experiment. I straight from the bat, I didn't like him picking up, but I was kind of how to say it, like more people wanted to vote for him than against him. I was alone that didn't want to play with him right away.
Sure.
So I kind of agreed with it, but it was all right. We had 3 months basically without any tournament, so it was all right to do this experiment if they wanted. Then we just sat down with Angel and realized we have to do something, and we just launched the HLTV org and see the stats, like the rating, and we just went down till we find a match in terms of being Oper and being on no team. So we kind of pick up free agent. He was the first that popped up, and we picked him up. That's basically it. I know it's an absurd story, but we did it. We kind of wanted to pick Draken as well as an Oper.
Yeah. He
didn't agree. He had contract with Epsilon. They were doing really great. They had a good run in some tournament in Jönköping, I think, in DreamHack Summer or something.
Yeah, I think so.
Like right now, a year ago.
Yeah.
And I wanted to pick up Wenton because I think he got kicked at the time from Fnatic.
Fnatic, yeah.
I wanted to do it for the experience and also to him being kind of supporting towards Angel to bring that Swedish kind of a style.
Sure.
But we never really approached him. I was only one that wanted to pick him up. So we went for DeadFox. By the way, if we would pick the Wenton, I was telling that I could pick the Op. I could practice it and be an opera on the team. But we decided to go for DeadFox, which like I didn't argue with it. I was comfortable with him being on the team. I heard he's a nice guy, so we tried him out and it worked.
So as people might be able to tell by all these different possibilities you're introducing here and the different roles that would have been changed, etc., there wasn't really an obvious solution. And the fact that it's Oscar who left the team, even though now, as you've said, like actually the team became a better team and you figured out better how to use everyone in the lineup, was there a worry when Oscar left? Like, are we just going to become a shit team now, Is this it for playing at the top of the, coming into tier 1, etc.?
Yeah, there was a worry. Like, we were slumping really hard. We were individually, all of us, apart from Oscar, like, we were just not hitting our shots that we should. And we knew that when Oscar leave, we need to bring new game plan and new just game strategy for our team completely on every map. So that was huge risk. It could work well like it did, but there was a high chance that it will just fall flat and we'll have to rebuild the team 3 times, 4 times, changing the roles, changing the whatever CT is holding, whatever, everything. It was just a huge risk, and it was a really big chance that it wouldn't work out. So we were afraid for sure. When we were playing qualifier for the major in Katowice, the qualifier was in Katowice. It was a qualifier for Cologne, I believe. We already knew. Me and Angel already knew that Oscar will leave team no matter what happens. So we knew we had so much pressure during those games. Like Zero and Bondik didn't know, I think. So Oscar revealed it after we failed to qualify. But we knew that if we lose this game, if we lose this round, we're going to lose Oscar basically, because that was only chance that we will keep him if we will make it to the major. I didn't like the whole process, how it went, how he signed the contract before the HellRaisers expired, or how to say it.
Sure,
I don't want to say it was a dick move. I would probably do the same, right? We were just bad, right, back then. No structure, no anything.
So when you brought in DeadFox, and it's not as though the team instantly got all these upsets, it's not like you even won the next minor, lost to Godsent. So when you came into that qualifier for the major, no one had any expectations. Like, a lot of people basically thought it would be like the major, maybe you could win them up, or maybe you'd just lose them all. No one had any expectations. But in this successful qualification, DeadFox actually had a bunch of big games and he seemed to stand out. And so I noticed it meant that actually early on, this is something where I think I actually picked up fairly quickly, because whenever I see someone have like big games, that's when I'll go and watch more of their matches, to see like, are they like a rising star, are they going to be the next like potential superstar? And I have to say, after I went and watched DeadFox's games, that's one of the reasons why when I made my video you referred to before, I actually kind of told people it's actually not really like that, it's not really like he's not the new Oscar, he's not just going to carry all the time, and he doesn't have to actually. But bizarrely, early on, he did have these big games. How would you describe how DeadFox has fit into the team? Because clearly some of those early games, were him going crazy. But it seems like his role's changed since he first joined.
Yeah, DeadFox is kind of a unique opera. And instead of setting himself for the kill, he rather set up the teammate. It's really being really supportive guy. If he wouldn't pick up the AWP, he would be probably one of the better support players in the tier 1 team. He feels the game really well, and that's why he's really good at clutching. He had really big clutches during that major qualifier. I remember 1v3 against NIP that basically won us the game. He's just so... Okay, this might sound weird, but he's very consistent in terms of what he's doing on practice and transferring to the official game. So we know what to expect. He's not probably consistent in hitting his shots, but his movement and his nade usage, we are used to it. And he's helping us to... Basically, the fact that we know it is helping us to advance throughout the map. It wins us rounds, and it wins us important rounds. So the fact that he had really impactful games was because he was basically hitting his shots And when he has bad games, he's just not hitting his shots, but he's setting up us anyway for, like, he's not being total, like, invisible player when he's not hitting his shots, unlike most of the oppers. For example, when Oscar is really having an off game, it's basically 4v5. Same with Guardian right now, I feel like. It's just, they are not on the server. They have like ADR is 30 or whatever.
Sure, yeah.
When DeadFox is having poor performance, he's making sure that other teammate can just I don't know, feed of the fact that he's not having good game and they are taking the kills. He's really good at this. I don't know how he is doing it, if it's intentional or if it's just blessing. I don't know how to call it, but he's insane at doing this. And on the major qualifier, we were lucky that he had like 2 days in a row when he was insane. Then he had 1 day off when we lost to Optic Godsend, I think. And then third game against Cloud9, the Bondig and DeadFox again, they were just carrying. I remember those games because they had impact frags. I'm not sure if they were like top fragging with 40 frags. I remember they won the important rounds, like force buys, etc., because of their decisions. They carried us.
So, in your career, as we've kind of cited here, like most of it was at like the tier 2 level, you know. Maybe you played in the odd tournament where you got to play a lot of the big teams, but you were never at the big tournaments. So just making it to a major in the modern day is a big deal, you know. It's not like the first majors where like every top team made it there because there was only like 13 top teams and there was 16 spots, you know. Now just to make it there is tough. I mean, we saw NIP didn't make it. A few different teams that actually have good players didn't make it. Even though it went really badly, was the experience of playing in that major, was it a positive one? What do you think the problems were for the team?
I think the effect that it had, that major, was really huge because right now we realize we made it through the arguably the hardest qualifier that ever was before.
Sure.
Right now, when I look at the teams that will attend the qualifier for the next major in Krakow, I feel like I will just go there and we will win like 3-0 or 3-1. We're really confident into going into this qualifier because we survived wars. I think it has a really big of impact on us. I love how we approached the preparation for this tournament, and we are doing the same right now. We will have a really long boot camp, I would say. Like, it will be long for us. It's like over 10 days. And we'll prepare the same way we prepared before, and we'll be ready for any opponent. I believe like we can beat anyone in that qualifier. So it could be 3-0 for HellRaisers. I know the competition is tough. It could be 0-3 as well, but I feel like we have much better chances than not all other teams. Probably Mousesports will have better chances. They have really good form right now. Envious as well, but that's it. Like, we feel really comfortable going into this qualifier. The second part of the question was, what was it?
What happened at the major?
What happened in the major? Oh, yeah. Like, even though we lost... Oh, yeah, I mentioned this before. Even though we lost all 3 maps, it was... we found one really important thing, and that's it. When we were 0-2, and last game was against North, we realized our game style will not work against tier 1 teams. On the major, everyone will beat us if we will play the same old HellRaisers that we practiced before major. We have to do something different, and we decided to just take aim duels where we can, be unexpected, push the smokes, pop flash through the smokes, just be annoying teammate, opponent, and just try to surprise them as much as we can. And I mean, we almost won that game. We lost in overtime, I remember, but I still believe they were a better team, but we had a chance. We had a really good chance, and North actually made it to the legend spot after going to 0-2. Yeah. So if we beat them in that overtime, we have kind of good chance to go to surprise next team. They had G2, and next team they had Envious or something. I don't remember exactly, but it was a nice try by us, and we realized this, and it's good that we realized it on the major, that our game need to be rebuilt basically, and tier 1 teams will adapt to us really well if we keep playing just predictable Counter-Strike. against Nord, we decided to play kind of FPL, and it worked out. Almost, it worked out, but the plan of it, that we will use it, worked out because we had actually close game after being obliterated by SK and someone else. I don't remember who.
So when it came to StarSeries, and in this tournament, everyone might remember, because your opening game was the one against FaZe, who obviously actually ended up winning the tournament, but they did look pretty bad in that game. It was the cash game, and this is also actually a game where DeadFox had a pretty good match, you know? Right, that one, okay, that's pretty good. And then you lost to G2, but actually that was the tournament where in the group stage, especially G2 like actually blitzed everyone, you know, and everyone's like, oh, maybe they're just really good, it's their first LAN. And then beating NIP again, unfortunately, we've kind of seen now NIP, that was like, you know, they were gradually on the way down anyway. So, So coming into the playoffs, I don't think it's that unreasonable that a lot of people were like, okay, you know, well done the Swiss system, but you have to play North in a best of 3. And in theory, you know, North's a pretty good team. They have a lot of skilled players. They definitely have a good map pool. To beat them in a best of 3 seemingly was a tall order, you know. Like all these upsets we're talking on in the past, they're all best of 1s, you know. How did you beat North in that best of 3? Because I've watched that match a whole bunch of times, and I don't think even they know how they lost that series. How did you beat them in this best of 3? Because it's a very close one, right?
Right, it was a close one. In the end, I feel like we were a better team because in the impact rounds, meaning that we will break their economy, we were playing really on point. Like our reads and our preparation towards their style was really good. On the first map, I remember that we were playing really bad. I remember that was not us. We were like doing stupid repeats, we didn't even do our strats right. We are doing so many mistakes in terms of nade usage, in terms of like micro movement, checking certain corners. It was insane, and I felt like after that game that okay, let's at least put up a good fight at the second map and let's see how it works. At the second map, I remember that DeadFox has really good performance. We won that map actually. I don't remember which one it was, but on the decider overpass, we just kept ruining their economy. Like all the time. Every time they had really good buy, we kind of stopped them with some. I don't know. We stopped their execute every time because we knew their executes. Like our analysts did a really good job back then. We knew about everything, and they just kept forcing. And I remember they never won a force or only one during their T side. That's it. We just had a really good read on them. That's a bit sad part on their side because they didn't adapt to us. Meanwhile, we adapted to them. I think they were better on point in terms of aim and just firepower. Obviously, like Magic Score and Config were insane, and Gage and B had also like great impact with the op. He's always having good game. Even MSL, I remember he was pretty good. AZ, he was lacking a bit, I think. But they were better in terms of firepower. But we outplayed them strategically which was like probably the first time that it ever happened on LAN against tier 1 opponent. And we realized, wow, the Jonta system that he brought, it really works. And if we prepare as well as we could in terms of analyzing our opponents, like knowing their execute, we can beat anyone in the world. Because North, back in those Star Series that we beat them, they were like top 5 team, I think.
Sure, yes.
So that's why it doesn't look like we won the game because we were better, but we were better in terms of outplaying them smartly, not aim duels, because we were not that good. We were not on point.
Sure. So since FaZe won the tournament, most people would say, oh, it's fine to lose to FaZe, you know, like you did a lot, you beat all these other teams, you already did get one map off FaZe anyway, then you beat North, that's good enough. But what people forget is, this was actually quite a close series. I mean, FaZe won 2-0, sure, but these were both close maps. Actually, even in terms of fragging, your players on your team weren't so bad, you know, it was pretty close. And, you know, most people would think, again, FaZe should be a team who's, you know, got the better aimers and they should be winning this side of it. What did you think of the FaZe series in the semifinals?
FaZe series, we were really hyped up to play them. We knew that we can beat them we beat them obviously in the group stage. We knew we can beat them on any map that they choose. it came to just heroic plays by them. I remember they had some individual performances that they were like stopping us, like multi-kills all around. There's just flashy plays. It's just FaZe, when they're feeling it, it happens, right? You can't do much about it. Like, only team that is good at countering this is kind of Astralis. You rarely see them getting like being killed 4 by one guy. Or they're really good at trade fragging, and we just when they are feeling it, it's impossible. Oh well, it's possible, but it's really hard. And actually, when we are playing practice matches with FaZe, they're always this close. Like, we are always ending up like 17, 13, 15, 15, always. No matter if we play it really serious and we want to win, or we play it really loose and want to try one certain strat during the whole T half. It's always us being really close to them. I don't know why. Maybe our game plan works against them. I don't know. It's really hard to tell, but I feel like they deserve the win. They were much better team, and they showed it in the final as well. Like, I think if we would be in the final, we would get annihilated by Astralis. We always just don't feel the game against them.
So this tournament brings up another element of why I called that like the inverted HellRaisers. Because if you go back to the Oscar days, Zero was the least experienced player in the team, and he was like the pure rookie, hasn't even really played on top level much, and seemed like in the old lineups, he was one of those guys where it's like they either have the wrong role, or they're not comfortable with their role, or they're not comfortable themselves as a player, so they can't yet unleash their potential when they get to the LAN tournament, And yet this StarSeries was when I first noticed that he had like this big spike in form, and suddenly he wasn't just having like, a half that was good. He had like a tournament that was good. And obviously we've seen since then that, as I kind of pointed out in the video, the games where he has the really big game are the ones where HellRaisers has these really big performances. Like, when he didn't have a very good performance at Austin, he didn't have a good series himself. And then at Tours, he was like potentially the MVP of the tournament, He had a fantastic tournament. As someone who's known him for a long time, what type of player is Zero? Why is this evolution been like really, really slow and then suddenly sped up at the end?
Oh, that's a hard question, but let's see. During the games and also the practice, I feel like Zero and Bondik are the two guys that makes the most mistakes in terms of understanding the game. But they're really good at shooting, and the way we are positioning them on the maps, on CT side especially, they have really good CT sides. When you mentioned these tournaments, they have really good CT rating, I believe. And when teams don't watch demos, Zero has so many, like, he has such a big arsenal of things that he can do, but he's thinking like inside of the box, right? That he's thinking that he wants to close the part of the map that he's holding, not thinking about anything else. It's like in League of Legends, the term, I believe it was like tunnel vision, right?
Okay.
That he's tunnel visioning too much on his game, and he's ultimately like winning the gunfights. He's a really good aimer, but it is costing us like small things like map control, like not giving proper info. I'm not telling like I'm blaming or anything. He knows that this is something he needs to work on, but
sure.
It's him having good performance was only thing that saved us in few matches in Tours and also in StarSeries. Like, he was winning aim battles. But when you would join our TeamSpeak, you would understand that sometimes he was just kind of not on point with his calls. Like, he was giving sometimes bad information. I remember on Cash against FaZe that we won that Cash. But I remember that there were some miscommunications sparked by Zero. Bondik is always just kind of not feeling the game when it comes to countering opponents. Like, we know what they are doing. Bondik knows what he has to do to counter the move, and he still does something else. I have no idea why this is happening, but it's just very weird because I never encountered anyone in the game that has this problem. And Zero is like the how to say it, like he's really, as I said, he's just a really good aimer, but he's tunnel visioning very hard, and we are trying to teach him that it's not a good thing. And I feel like when Zero doesn't have some move in his arsenal, he doesn't know how to do it in game, and it's just not how it works in CSGO. You have to adapt the mid round, and sometimes you have to do something that is not prepared beforehand. True. And Zero is really bad at doing this. Like, he knows it, and he's really bad at doing something that he has to do for the first time. He needs to practice it like 30 times during practice, one move, and then he will feel comfortable doing it on the lines as well. So, like, him winning the aim battles was the reason that he had such a good performance. He has obviously good period right now. Like, past 3 months, he was like really on point with his aim. He could form up really good because of the school. He has some school excuses, so he doesn't need to go there that much. But ultimately, it's sometimes costing us the round just because he's focused on his crosshair too much.
So if your team has like really embraced more of a tactical approach and scouting the opponents and really trying to figure out what you're going to do in the game, what is a practice like for HellRaisers? Like, do you just run something specific? Do you have like a playbook of things you're building up when you're coming into a tournament? Like, how does it work in terms of HellRaisers? It sounds like it's not like the old teams that a lot of the semi-pro teams were, where they were like, you know, just playing and just trying to win the practice.
Yeah. The thing is that our analyst and coach and Angel are watching a lot of games, and they are discussing the meta. And according to this meta, we are trying to build the counters for it, and then we practice them. So we build a whole lot of different rounds and moves that we use, and then before the actual game on LAN, we kind of read on mobile phones. We have this little chat, and our analyst is posting photos of different setups, different strats, like videos, etc. Like, it's few minutes, and we just watch them through, and we understand what counters will work against them and which counters will not work against them. So we, before game, discuss this, and that's it. That's basically it. We just build a whole arsenal of our moves, and then we choose like 3 or 4 of them that will work against this type of play. That's it. That's our preparation. But during the practice, we have to use them all and see if they actually work against anything or they are totally worthless. So sometimes on practice, we look like a dumb piece of shit that doesn't know how to play the game, because we are trying just some counter that is not even the right approach towards that meta.
As someone who's known Guardian for a long time, he's a player where I've admired him as a player a lot, not just for like being a really good AWPer, but because I know in some of those teams, especially the Na'Vi lineups, like the first ones he was in, must have been very frustrating, you know, like he didn't speak Russian, and then he was in a position where actually famously some of those teams had like a lot of rages, you know, and his personality it's not really suited to that, you know. And he's one of those players where over the years I'd heard a lot of rumors that, like, you know, oh, maybe this is before they were really, really successful, you know, in Na'Vi, or maybe he'll just like retire, or maybe he'll just quit playing, or he'll go and play for a worse team, you know, if it's players he likes to play with. Now, and for the last year and a half, Na'Vi's had all these really good players, and they've had performances where they were, you know, going really deep in tournaments. And all of a sudden, it's now him who's one of the players who hasn't been able to be the superstar, you know, and hasn't had the good performances, which was always the opposite, you know, in the past of his career. Even if Na'Vi lost, he would always play very well. What do you think as someone who knows him? What is the problem with Guardian at the moment, do you think?
I think the lack of in-game leading skills. I think the Zeus removal hurt him and Navi's game in overall in a lot. Like, Seized is, I still don't believe in Seized calling. I feel like some of the players of Navi don't believe as well. And it's like 3 months, 4 months, 5 monds already that Zeus left. I don't remember exactly.
It's a lot more than that. He left in like, I think it was like July last year or something crazy.
Oh my god. That's so, yeah. Okay. I feel like it's not clicking. I don't know. Like, very inconsistent performances from both Guardian and sometimes even Simple. They are supposed to be stars, but I feel like they are not set up as the stars. I don't know if it's the in-game leader or coach problem, But both of these roles that Navi are using, both coach and in-game leading, there are new guys there, right? Seized wasn't calling before, and Andy, which is their coach right now, he wasn't coaching as well. He was analyst. He just moved from analyst spot to coach spot. I don't like the whole approach of Navi thing to this situation. I feel like they need to bring someone more respectable. I don't know. I don't know if the problem is that they don't respect Seized, but it might be, and I'm afraid that it's costing Navi right now the tournaments because they have the firepower to win them. Sure. They just don't have the, I don't know, maybe mindset to win them. The raging, I chat with Guardian, I fly with him towards the events. We sit on a plane and we just talk about the game, and he just always tell me that they are raging, that he doesn't want to be in the environment sometimes. It's counterproductive rather than productive.
Yeah.
So the raging and like flaming and raging and Navi is still a thing. And with these personalities like Flamey, Seized, and probably Simple, it's really hard to do something about it. It's just the way they are. They need to figure it out by themselves before it's too late, and they will be dropped down or out of whatever it is, top 5, top 10 team. Because they are not advancing right now in the ranking. They have more disappointing runs than they had successful runs.
Yes. But this is where I'm not just asking your opinion as an outsider on Na'Vi, because the problem is, so if you were trying to fix Na'Vi, right, you're thinking, right, so we need a guy from CIS who could be an in-game leader and who's like could have their respect, so he'd have to be like a veteran, you know. And some people, I say some people, is me, but think, well, maybe Angel's the player then. Maybe Angel could join Na'Vi and they would, you know, they'd know him from the old school and he could be the in-game leader, and it's a CIS squad, you know, he'd be playing with all CIS players again. I realise on paper he's signed his contract, you know, he's there till 2018 with HellRaisers. It's partly like his team and stuff, but this is the sort of offer where it could potentially be like a crazy career offer, you know. So like you're implying here, you might win a major if you do this. Is there anything that's ever crossed your mind? Is there anything you ever worry about? Will it happen?
Sure. At one point, I was thinking that it's just only a matter of time when Navi will approach Angel and they will offer him contract that he can't refuse. But at the same time, when I realized I get to know Angel really well during the past few months because of the lands that we traveled to. There was a lot of amount of bootcamp as well. I know him now better as a person, and I understand that if he would join Navi, it would probably just drag them. I don't know who would in your mind he replace. If you would like to replace Edward or Seized or someone, I don't think none of those are good solutions. Probably replacing Guardian would be good and making it like only okay way to like somehow implement Angel into the team. I don't know why, I just feel the way. The way is there and it's only way to replace Guardian, but I don't think Angel will agree on that anytime soon. I feel like he's trying to build much more structured game. Maybe if, I know there was I think there was some beef between Zeus and Angel as well. I'm not sure about it, but if Zeus was still on the team, on the Navi, and they would try to pick up Angel, it would be really good in terms of understanding the game, because I feel like Zeus and Angel might have a different playstyles, but in the end, the idea was the same. Like trying to build really slow, methodical kind of approach, mixing it with some fast rounds, with contact plays, as you said, like running dry into the sides that you mentioned, that Russian style. So I feel like that could be the way. But since the Zeus got cut, I feel like there's no hope in terms of like Angel is no way for suitable for Navi right now. They would change. They would have to change more than one player, and if it have to be one player, like there's a little chance that it could work. It would be Guardian, in my opinion.
So Since, like I said at the beginning of the conversation, the only person anyone knew from your region, like literally Slovakia, was Guardian. And then the only one from like the greater region was like maybe Oscar as well. But now people obviously know STYKO from HellRaisers, and particularly recently, you know, obviously we've seen Zero rise up. Is there someone else out there in the Slovakian scene? Is there someone who's like one day, like 6 months, a year from now, we're going to know this guy, and there's or some talent that one day we could be in a HellRaisers type team, for example? Is there someone else in the Slovakian scene we should look out for?
Yeah, obviously that there's this guy that is playing FPL a lot, the young guy Frozen. Maybe you heard of him, maybe you didn't. It's like He was pretty popular at some point on Reddit as well. He gets a lot of posts there of highlights. He is very young. He's just 14 years old. He's just playing in X-Status right now together with Queston. He's also the potential star of Slovakian scene, and if we will ever get to chance to build a team, he would be probably on the team, purely Slovakian team. So Queston, Frozen, both like really good aimers. Queston recently transferred to in-game leading, so he's trying to lead his teammates. I never saw their game, to be honest. I don't know if they're doing well in terms of leading. I just see the results on the HLTV, for example, and they're doing kind of okay. The third guy is like horse of all. It's like Monty. He's the part of the X-Status as well. Those are the three guys that are part of only paid team. I mean, they are being paid as the only team here in Slovakia, I believe, and they are just trying to climb the ladder in terms of EU qualifiers, and they're getting really close to qualifying for bigger lands, but they're still very young. There's still time for them to shine. So maybe in a few months you will hear about them more. Just a heads up for the Frozen and Queston and Monty. They're like pretty good guys.
Is HellRaisers ready to win a Tier 1 tournament?
Yes, we are. I mean, we have the necessary like parts of it to win this tournament. I feel like CS right now is, if you are having off day, it's impossible to win. If you are having off day as a team, so no one can hit their shots, etc. If you hit your shots as your team, all 5 guys, it's really easy to win the games, even as an underdog, even against like top 3 teams. I feel like we are really close to winning some Tier 1 tournament, but we need to go to the tournament with the mindset that we will win it. We just need this mindset, and that's it.
Okay. At the end of the interview, do you have a final message or someone you want to thank and say hello to?
Obviously, I would thank you, everyone who watched it till this point. It was a great talk. Pleasure talking to you. It was my first appearance here, and I really enjoyed it. I would like to thank all my fans, all fans of HellRaisers, also our sponsors, and I just hope that sometime later we can collaborate again with you, Duncan, and probably see you on some LAN soon. That would be perfect.
Jacquem.
Cheers.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you.
That's it.
Hi, this is Gertrude and you're watching Thorins YouTube channel.